Hello, hello, and welcome to the breakdown. It's October, and we are 29 days away from the election. Not too much happened over the weekend. It was a pretty slow weekend, wasn't it? No, no, it wasn't. It was insane. I am Tara Setmayer, and B. Rick Wilson will be joining us shortly. Tonight on the program, we have former Congressman David Jolly joining us, and we'll bring him in just a bit. But as always, we are taking your questions. So please send us your questions with hashtag AskTheBreakdown on Twitter. That's hashtag AskTheBreakdown. Send in your questions for us, and you can direct them at me, Rick, or the congressman, former congressman, and we will be happy to answer them. Or you can go old school, my favorite. You can send us a voicemail. You can call us at 703-203-1208. Send us those voicemails. We will check them in a little bit and get back to you at the later part of the show. Well, since the last time we were together, the President of the United States, along with many in his inner circle, have contracted COVID-19. It has been a whirlwind of events since we found out late Thursday evening that the president, along with his advisor, Hope Hicks, and now several others, have tested positive. Let's take a look at the timeline. Okay, we will get the timeline. That's how crazy it's been because we can't keep up with the timeline because it keeps shifting. We don't know the real story. Was the president actually COVID-19 positive Thursday evening? Did he just find out? Was Hope Hicks COVID positive before the debate, after the debate? Was Trump COVID positive at the debate? We don't know because the White House has not been forthcoming with the timeline. So maybe when the White House gets it together, we'll have the timeline available then. It's apropos with the chaos that has been going on here. But since then, we know on Thursday night he went on Hannity, lied basically to the American people by omission, saying that he was waiting on a test. We think we know that he was COVID positive at that point and he knew it, and lied by omission because by Friday he was unwell and we saw him helicoptered, medevaced to Walter Reed. But let's see if the timeline we have coincides with what we saw over the weekend. I think we got it now.
Agreement by Trump and Biden campaigns that all parties be tested before debate and all audience will wear masks. Trump arrives late, missing testing. His family refuses to wear masks, even after warned by medical staff to do so. Donald Trump tests positive for COVID. No one is informed, including Biden campaign, debate staff, White House staff. Trump travels to Minnesota, has private fundraiser at donor's home, rally. On return trip, Hope Hicks feels sick and is moved to rear of plane. Still, no warning to staff or public. Hope Hicks is diagnosed with COVID. Trump begins treatment for COVID. Trump travels to New Jersey for private fundraiser with donors, many over 70 years old. No one is told he is COVID positive and undergoing treatment. Reporter breaks story that Hope Hicks has COVID. After midnight on Thursday, White House announces Trump and Melania Trump have COVID. Over next 36 hours, campaign manager Bill Stepien, positive. Governor Chris Christie, positive. Senator Mike Lee, positive. President of Notre Dame, positive. RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel, positive. Kellyanne Conway, positive. Senator Tom Tillis, positive. Senator Ron Johnson, positive. Trump's body man, Nick Luna, positive. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, positive. All were with Donald Trump. None were warned he was positive. If Donald Trump doesn't care enough about those closest to him to warn them he has COVID, why should we ever think he cares about us?
That is pretty extraordinary. But he's all better now. he's miraculously beaten COVID because he's so tough and so strong. Listen, make no mistake. The president is better. I mean, the country is better when the president of the United States is healthy. And we wish the president a healthy and speedy recovery, as well as everyone else who's contracted the virus. But the president and his inner circle has been so incredibly reckless and irresponsible. That's how they got the coronavirus. That's how they contracted it. They have been cavalier, downplaying this, and now look at what's going on. We have a super spreader event going on in the White House. This is such an abdication of their responsibility and their duty, especially for the president of the United States, whose number one priority is keeping the American people safe. He has not done that. And here we are. So let's roll meanwhile.
The White House ceremony nominating Judge Amy Coney Barrett. As you can see, few people wore masks and practiced social distancing.
The entire party embracing the ignorance of one man, rejecting the most basic concepts from the age of enlightenment, the age of reason.
Chris Wallace is telling Fox News tonight that he believes President Trump and his campaign arrived too late in Cleveland to be tested.
The members of the First Family weren't wearing masks. Everybody was told to wear a mask. Why did the First Family and the Chief of Staff feel that the rules for everybody else didn't apply to them?
We believe in masks. We also believe in some element of individual choice.
There was no freedom of choice. They broke the rules.
One of President Trump's most valued aides, Hope Hicks, has tested positive for coronavirus.
We spend a lot of time with Hope and others, so we'll see what happens.
President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump say they have tested positive for the coronavirus.
Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel was also tested positive for coronavirus.
Trump's campaign manager, Bill Stepien.
Governor Chris Christie.
Kellyanne Conway.
Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary.
Senators Tom Tillis, Ron Johnson, and Mike Lee tested positive.
I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well.
But at a separate off-camera briefing with reporters, the Associated Press quoted White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. The president's vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning.
This stunning moment, the president left the hospital for a surprise drive-by to see supporters outside, raised serious questions about the risks he was imposing on the Secret Service agents in the car with him.
God bless our president. I will die for him. I will die for that man happily. I will die for him.
I've often said that the cult of personality with Donald Trump it's a cult. Literally, these people are cultists. It is now officially turned into a death cult. We just heard in that video some supporters saying that he would die for Donald Trump, happily die for Donald Trump. This is alarming on many levels. But what's even more alarming is that this administration, even with the president currently still infectious, still has coronavirus, he insisted on leaving the hospital against medical advice. This administration is still not taking this seriously. The president of the United States is acting like that he somehow is immune to all of this. He's fought it. He's got these miracle drugs he was given. He was given the best medical care in the world, as he should have. He's the president of the United States. By no means should we be minimizing the seriousness of COVID-19. He didn't learn a damn thing from this. He put out these hostage videos saying he learned his lesson. He went to COVID school and he's learned. What has he learned? He left the hospital, emerged from the hospital against medical advice in the middle of his treatment at the peak time when COVID could go either way. He demanded he leave because he felt it was weak for him to stay in the hospital while Joe Biden was out campaigning. Let's take a look.
I'm just letting everyone know, Sanjay, this is a few moments ago, the other side of the helicopter. Everyone, you saw it land, the cameras were on the other side. This is him getting off as he walks up those stairs. So, Sanjay, keep going. This is where he has the mask on, right, as he goes to the passes the press, doesn't take questions, and is going to head up those stairs.
Right. So he heads up the stairs, and then when he gets to the top of the stairs is when he takes his mask off. And, you know, if he's going to go inside the residence, I mean, maybe that's where he's going to isolate. I don't know. But at that point, Caitlin was raising this issue. At that point, if anybody comes in contact with him, they need to be in personal protective equipment. I mean, if he was in the hospital still, whenever the doctors went to go see him, they'd be in personal protective equipment. So, you know, you're getting a very different picture here by seeing the president like this. Doctors look at this and they say, well, what's going on inside of him? What's the illness all about? And we know he has an infection with this coronavirus. We know that infection, that coronavirus can be very contagious, which is why people, you know, take great pains to protect themselves in the hospital. But this is obviously sending a very different,
takes it off,
an incorrect message.
And you see him here, he takes it off and he's getting ready for his pictures. The flags flank him. Right, Caitlin, this is what he did. This is the moment. This is what he produced it for. He wants the image to be, I'm strong. This virus is nothing. His tweet today, feeling better than I did 20 years ago. Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life. There he is. This is the image he wants.
Yeah, and let us remind viewers now that the president is on steroids and a drug that fewer than 10 people outside of clinical trials have gotten inside the United States.
This freaking guy is so incredibly irresponsible. You know, I don't even know where to start. The propaganda level of this whole stunt is off the charts. First of all, like I said before, he was not supposed to leave the hospital. This was against medical advice. Now, just to understand, well, how did the doctors let it go? You saw over the weekend the doctors were very inconsistent with the information they gave. They were evasive. His chief physician, who is in the military, these are military doctors, and he's the commander in chief. They have to obey his orders. So, unfortunately, as Rick Wilson's book so aptly titled "Everything Trump Touches Dies," that includes the reputation of the doctors at Walter Reed, unfortunately, because they've been misleading the American people and been very evasive about Trump's actual condition. Let me tell you something right now. Donald Trump is not a healthy person. He is not over the hump with COVID-19. I have friends who have sources in the White House who were alarmed on Friday, who reached out to me to tell me on Friday, before they medevaced him to Walter Reed, that it was a much more grave situation that they were letting on to the public. That is what they've been doing all weekend. They have been obfuscating and not transparent, which is consistent with this administration. And now here we have, it's culminated in this South American dictator style stunt, pulling off his mask, still infectious, still contagious, standing on the balcony of the White House. It's a disgrace. It's despicable. The man is mentally unfit. And if this isn't a slap in the face, if this isn't the biggest FU to every single family of the 200,000 dead Americans and the 7 million Americans who are COVID positive and suffering but have survived, this is the biggest FU the President of the United States could give the American people. And he will continue to do it. And if this doesn't rile you up, then I don't know, then you don't have a pulse, but it should. This is disqualifying. And we are 29 days away from an election, and we can vote him out. Vote this bastard out. This is such a disgrace. I can't even. I'm still riled up from it because it happened in real time and we were watching it before the show came on. And it's just still hard to fathom. You know, the text messages that I've gotten from people I know who are on the inside of all this have been nonstop. Even from Trump supporters, they said they could not believe what they have seen happen here. Now, there's more. The CDC put out guidelines to say, again, that COVID-19 can spread through the air. It is airborne. We've known this. And there's been a fight because the CDC's been politicized also about this, about the spread, because Donald Trump didn't want people to know. But guess who did know that it was airborne months ago? Donald Trump.
It goes through air, Bob.
He told Bob Woodward when he was being interviewed for Woodward's book back in February or March that he knew it was airborne early on and refused to wear a mask. And now here we are, months later, with this mess going on in the White House. There are more people that are COVID positive on the White House staff than is being reported. There is, from my sources, people inside the White House they feel betrayed that the president would not tell them, because when they found out, guess how they found out? They didn't find out from the White House. They didn't find out from the chief of staff. They found out from the fake news media. That's how the White House staff found out. This is a deadly disease, folks. That's how much President Donald Trump cares about even his own staff. He doesn't. He doesn't give a damn about any of them. And there are more people. It's not just the political staff there. There are hundreds of people who are apolitical, who work in the White House, who are around the president, that make that whole ship run. Whether it's the military aides, the valets, the butlers, the housekeepers, the people who serve the food, the people who break down and put up the stages for their events there, like the super spreader event last Saturday with the announcement of Amy Coney Barrett as the new Supreme Court nominee, which it looks more and more like that was the genesis of this whole thing. There are people who are around this president who will now be subjected, even more so, because we saw him, he couldn't wait to take off the mask. And I don't know if I was the only one who noticed that he was winded coming up the steps there. He's not in good shape anyway, and COVID affects your lungs. He was huffing. He was trying so hard to keep that in, but you could tell it was labored breathing. And this campaign has gone out there already and put out propaganda videos. That whole stunt was to film a freaking propaganda video to his supporters to try to say that he's Superman and he beat COVID and he knows what's going on. And, only Donald Trump could be so strong to do it. What a bunch of bullshit and an affront to the American people and every family that's lost a family member to this deadly disease. He's not going to learn anything. He's not going to be responsible. He's going to continue on to be the selfish, malignant narcissist, sociopath that he is. And God knows how many other people now are going to have to suffer as a result of it. Well, I'll tell you who else is being subject to this that can't say no. Donald Trump's Secret Service protective detail. Check out the stunt on Sunday.
We're going to pay a little surprise to some of the great patriots that we have out on the street. And they've been out there for a long time, and they've got Trump flags, and they love our country. So I'm not telling anybody but you, but I'm about to make a little surprise visit. So perhaps I'll get there before you get to see me.
God bless our president. I will die for him. I will die for that man, happily. I will die for him. Anybody want to mess with him, you mess with me first. He is a hero, that man. Look at it. Guys, Gatling guns in here, missile launchers. God bless America.
Donald Trump's the hero? To this cultist, Donald Trump's the hero? No, the heroes are the medical staff and the first responders and the Secret Service agents that were voluntold that they had to drive an infectious, diseased narcissist, sociopath around so he could get his jollies off from adulation from the crazies outside who are worshiping this man like a cult. A hero? There's nothing heroic about what Donald Trump did. He's not a hero. He's a coward. A coward who's going to get more people killed in this country because he's a narcissist and doesn't give a damn about anyone. No one. Those Secret Service agents that had to drive in that car, hermetically sealed in with a deadly disease infected person, they're the heroes. Now they'll have to quarantine for 14 days. Godspeed to them. Let's pray that they don't contract it. But I've got news for you. There are lots of Secret Service agents who have contracted COVID as a result of having to go to these rallies. There's a revolt going on. The Washington Post has written stories about it. They feel betrayed, as they should, because they're used as political props, just like the military and anyone else. It's straight out of the authoritarian playbook. And Donald Trump is checking off every single box. Now, it's not just them. The media. Kayleigh McEnany, my favorite, she went out there and BS'd the American people as usual about the timeline and things and who knew what and when, about who was positive and when Trump was negative last, and the bullshit that she usually spews. She's also COVID positive, we found out today. So, no one, I don't wish any harm on her, but you reap what you sow at this point. But the media was exposed to her. They're exposed to her in the press room. They were exposed to her after this when she gave a press gaggle where she came out still not wearing a freaking mask. I don't know what is wrong with these people. They're all sadists. So Michael Shear, New York Times reporter, he is now COVID positive. He found out days ago, and he was at that super spreader event last Saturday. And he said that there was zero communication from the White House. The White House is actually telling the CDC not to do contact tracing. Why? I don't understand the blatant disregard for life here. I just don't. They're sending mixed message to the American people, and they're not even right here with their own folks inside the White House, the press corps that covers the White House. They didn't tell them anything. No contact tracing. It's hard to fathom. It really is. Given the state that we're in, Dr. Fauci was out today talking about how we're back up to 43,000 plus new cases of coronavirus a day, and how that is nowhere near over the hump or around the corner or turning for the good, for the best. It's not. This country is in big trouble, and they're rudderless. We are leaderless in this effort. Let's take a look at something that Lincoln Project put out today.
It's been a very interesting journey. I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school.
He's learned a whole lot. He put that out before the stunt tonight where he ripped off his mask like he was some tough guy as he filmed his propaganda video to try to convince the American people that he's so tough and so strong and that he's immune. He learned a lot. He hasn't learned a damn thing. And the beat goes on. Despite all of this, Mike Pence, who's also exposed, he didn't self-quarantine. He's out there on the campaign trail. And despite his protestations about having a plexiglass put up for the debate coming up this week on Wednesday against Kamala Harris, which I cannot wait for. That's going to be glorious. The debate commission has agreed that they will separate the vice president from Kamala Harris with a plexiglass. But the super spreading has continued. As the Trump campaign announced today that it is going to pivot, let me make sure, pivot to in-person events following the vice presidential debate on October 7th. Like none of this ever happened. Like people aren't dying every day. They are out here ready to go back to normal. All the please, dear leader. This is outrageous. How many more people have to die? Because they will. And is it worth it? Is it really worth it? I hope and pray the American people, there are more of us than them, and they will vote these people out so we can get out of this nightmare. The president plans to begin his swing through key states following Wednesday's debate in Utah. Then he's going to Arizona. So be on alert if you live in these states. Utah, Arizona, Indiana. He's going to vote early there. It's his home state. And all of those states are currently experiencing COVID-19 spikes. It's not going away. We have not turned the corner. Donald Trump is not immune. There's no miracle drug. We don't have a vaccine. We are 29 days away from the election. Now, as members of the Trump family continue to host live events, and if anybody saw that, I think we saw it in the meanwhile, they refused to put on masks at the debate, despite the Cleveland Clinic staff asking them to. Many of the battleground states where they're planning on these live events, they're all suffering from major COVID-19 spikes. But that's not all. Let's take a look at what state-run TV over there at Fox News is saying.
He has experience as commander-in-chief. He has experience as a businessman. He has experience now fighting the coronavirus as an individual. Those firsthand experiences, Joe Biden, he doesn't have those. He doesn't know what it's like.
Okay, so this is the spin now. So Joe Biden shouldn't get elected. We shouldn't vote for Joe Biden because he didn't get coronavirus. He doesn't know what it's like. The twisted, the twisted logic here, it's asinine. No, Joe Biden was the responsible adult. Joe Biden has been leading by example from the beginning with his campaign, with the DNC's decision early on to go virtual, with his decision to wear a mask so that he would not contract COVID and so he would not spread it to others. This is the sick, twisted logic coming out of this Trump campaign, and it's already out there. They've got these videos of Donald Trump like a football player tackling COVID and scoring a touchdown. The video where he's in the WWE tackling someone, he's got the face of COVID on there. Who is this really going to resonate with? Do they really think the American people are this dumb? This is backfiring. They're not getting the sympathy that they expected, only from their base. Well, he can't win with just his base. Then, of course, you have the medical advice from Dr. Senator John Kennedy.
It shows what we've learned about this virus. We've learned two things, among others, but two things stand out in my mind. Number one, it's very contagious. And number two, it's not nearly as lethal as the experts told us it was going to be.
Downplaying it again, minimizing it again. It's just, there are 3 members of the U.S. Senate tested positive for COVID-19, 2 of which are on the Senate Judiciary Committee. So this has an impact on the business of the Capitol Hill and of the Senate and of the upcoming Supreme Court nomination. And they're still being cavalier about this. It boggles the mind. Meanwhile, they try to convince us over the weekend that the President of the United States was, he was perfectly well and he was signing documents. He was still doing work. And they put out Trump working hard while he was at Walter Reed. You don't want to make fun, but sometimes you just can't help it. Ridiculous. If you zeroed in, a lot of people who were eagle-eyed zeroed in on that paperwork, those documents, they were blank. It was BS, as usual. Just to get a photo op, make people believe it. Maybe it's the healthcare plan that Donald Trump's been working on that we were supposed to get. It's been 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks, he said. Well, maybe that's what he was writing out. The absurdity of all of this. I just really can't believe that they don't think that the American people can see through all of this. It would be laughable if it wasn't so deadly serious, to be honest. My God, you couldn't script this. So we have a new update to our young adult series here. We've shown these young adult series covers throughout our coverage on the show since we started, and we have an update to our new young adult series. Let's see. Let's take a look at the new cover. Oh my goodness. Where did he get the COVID? Well, we may never know. No, I think we'll know. The press corps, there's no way. There's so many people that are pissed off about this. There's no way someone in the press corps doesn't get it. That's how Jen Jacobs got it. The intrepid reporter from Bloomberg. People leaked it because they're pissed off. Now it's literally about life and death for them. Well, let's move on and bring in tonight's guest.
Vroom, 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 vroom.
Oh my goodness. We got to get a mask being thrown off in that graphic moving forward now. Throwing a mask off as he's saying bye. Let's welcome David Jolly, former congressman from the great state of Florida. David Jolly, thank you so much for joining us tonight on LPTV on The Breakdown. Not too much going on. I don't know. What are we going to talk about?
Good to be with you, Tara. Look, I think you framed the last, 72 hours of the news cycle perfectly in terms of how it reflects who Donald Trump is. And I guess, I would boil it down to this, and if I can take some license and say something I typically wouldn't, the case I wouldn't make on network television, but I'll make here with you, which is the case for Joe Biden. And what I would ask a lot of people to think about, because look, many of us who find ourselves either associated with the Lincoln Project or in the same spirit of the Lincoln Project. Disaffected Republicans, maybe independents who voted Republican last time, who know they can't vote for Trump, but perhaps there's been something within the Democratic primaries or something within Joe Biden's candidacy that gives you that traditional Republican pause. Here's the case I would make to you tonight. And it's a reflection of everything you just presented, Tara. It's this. Consider the compass of the man. Consider the compass of the candidate. If you are making a binary choice between an incumbent president, Donald Trump, whose compass is always to try to bring the best light upon himself, regardless of what the truth means. If it means demeaning others, if it means discounting the lives of others, like the Secret Service, if it means lying to the American people, jeopardizing their health in the middle of a pandemic, that's the compass of Donald Trump. And in Joe Biden, for my former Republican friends, my current Republican friends, whatever agreements or disagreements you might have on policy, consider the compass of the man. What is his first thought? What is his motivation when it comes to leading the nation and to determining policy? Because I think if you reflect on that, regardless of your ideological or policy convictions, at the end of the day, the only case to be made is on behalf of Joe Biden. So that is not a case I will make on network television, but I'll make it for you here tonight. And it's one that 3 weeks out is important for voters to consider.
Well, I'm so thrilled that you made that case here with us. And as you were speaking, I was shamelessly plugging our Riding with Biden mug. So we need to make sure we get you one, since you are now riding with Biden like the rest of us.
No, look, can I also dispose of a couple myths here since we're among friends?
Yes,
Tara and I work together
absolutely.
in other capacities. Rick and I certainly
Right.
do as well. A lot of people either assume I've endorsed Biden or they attack me for not having endorsed Biden. I actually think on our network platforms, we shouldn't take that position. And so I think I've made my opinions clear on the incumbent president since the time I was in office and since I've been doing TV work. But I don't publicly endorse a candidate. And I won't publicly for any office, president on down. But this is a historic election. And so I would say to my peers who may find themselves, may be struggling with pulling that blue lever on November 3rd, just consider the compass of the man and then let that inform your vote.
That's well said, and that's something that I think that a lot of us have done, tried to give comfort, aid and comfort for people who have never pulled a lever for a Democrat before. I didn't. 2018 was the first time in my adult life that I did that, and I couldn't wait to because I knew that Republicans needed to pay a political price to hopefully course correct. They didn't. Then I voted for Joe Biden in the primary. It wasn't a hard decision to make. I think that, do I agree with Joe Biden on policy? Not on everything, but he's a good and decent man, and he knows how to lead the country, and that's what we need. In this time, we
Well,
couldn't ask for polar opposite.
and your lead in tonight and probably every night affirms that. And I guess that's my broader point to jump straight from your lead into the Biden conversation is because the two are related. Look, we have an incumbent president who's been desperate to try to gain momentum, but 4 weeks ago, it was about him calling our military and our veterans suckers and losers. Then it was the Bob Woodward revelations about playing down the pandemic. Then it was cheating on his taxes and paying $750. Now it's COVID and him misleading the American people about their own health. That's where all this comes together. Everything you said tonight is an affirmation of that choice we face. And just think about the motivation of each candidate when you go in to pull the lever on November 3rd.
100%. You're a Florida guy. My family, we had a house in the Florida Keys for over 20 years. I spent time in South Florida as well. I've worked on Florida campaigns, and it was reminiscent of something I'd seen. When South Florida is very, there's a large Cuban population. So the discussion of socialism and strongmen is, it's a touchy subject in South Florida. They take it very seriously because a lot of folks, their families escaped from Cuba. And something that you would never see Joe Biden do or behave like is like what we just saw Donald Trump do. It reminded me of a certain strong man that was 90 miles away from Florida. Do we have that graphic? There you have it. Donald Trump standing, looked just like Castro, standing on that balcony, saluting. I don't think we had that in the original shot that we rolled. But if you see it, you'll see it over and over. And I guarantee you'll see it in a Trump campaign ad sooner than later. And it would look a whole hell of a lot like Cuba that it didn't look like America.
Yeah. So
So,
here's the irony
yeah.
of all of this, Tara, though, and this is what's so amazing, is this is not a president who has just achieved victory in war or achieved some incredible legislative accomplishment, if you will. This is a president who is celebrating being able to walk under his own power. Even Kayleigh McEnany said, "Isn't it amazing to see the president stand on the balcony? We're celebrating him standing under his own strength." I actually don't think any of this works. That's fine if it helps the MAGA folks and they feel better about their president. But what Donald Trump is doing in every one of these moments is he's actually shining a spotlight on his complete failure to handle the pandemic from a national policy perspective and a personal safety perspective. I think this week will all be about COVID, then we'll be down to about 3 weeks left. I think Joe Biden is walking away with this race and Donald Trump's losing it in real time. I think this race is done.
Well, let's see what our. I think so too. I mean, we just saw the numbers come out after the debate. They were atrocious. I mean, Donald Trump law is losing now to Joe Biden with men over 50. Men at 50 plus. He had a 13-point advantage before the debate. After the debate, Joe Biden is +1. That is a 14-point swing. He's got a 30-plus point advantage with suburban women and a 30-plus point advantage with seniors. These are all people who vote. Those are terrible numbers for Donald Trump. Let's bring in Rick Wilson, because I know that Rick has plenty to say about this. There he is, the Rick Wilson.
Hey guys, my fellow Florida man and friend David Jolly. How are you, sir?
Rick, I thought I was going to have to fill in for you. So I thought what I need a bourbon, a firearm, and I need to work on words like miscreant and tomfoolery. And maybe I could sit side saddle with Tara on that one.
He's got
I'm split. I had to split the baby tonight a little bit. I had to go out and do a fundraising call, and now here we are doing LPTV. So my life is an endless circle.
But we are happy
I'm so
to
glad
see
you joined us tonight.
Wilson.
I'm so glad you joined us tonight, David. And I'm sure I've missed the fun part of the conversation. But what Tara was saying, I think the post-debate moment before the diagnosis, it was kind of a political shockwave that was just cresting when we found out he had COVID. I mean, I think his failure in the debate was so extraordinary that the landscape got reset. And I think the COVID diagnosis in the hospital stay it froze it for a day or two. But I think now we're back in play.
Yeah, Rick, look, I don't disagree with anything you just said. I will say, as somebody who within the Never Trump community, the disaffected Republican community, I think it's kind of fascinating. We've all taken similar but divergent journeys, and I think there's a cool story how it all comes together. But I'm one who really found a love for kind of independent politics. So I think Joe Biden won that debate because Donald Trump lost it. I mean, Donald Trump was awful that night. But I think there were some glaring errors for Joe Biden. And in other presidential debates, they would have been significant moments, right? He wouldn't answer on packing the court, what is a historic question. But the fascinating thing, to your point, is it shows how Donald Trump, out of his own ego, steps on opportunities that will benefit him. The best thing he could have done that night is just shut up. Just shut up and kind of let the silence build. But he can't do it. He thinks it's about the ratings, not the polls. That doesn't work in a debate when you're going against Joe Biden, who's trying to thread a needle and thus far has gotten away with it because of his opponent.
Right. And look, Joe Biden just has to not screw up in a debate like that when Donald Trump is setting himself on fire and running around the stage. And the most surprising moment for me was when Chris Wallace asked Trump to denounce white supremacist groups, did not name one, and Biden said Proud Boys, and Trump took the hook in his mouth and ran with it. It was astounding. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'll take it, but it was astounding.
And then the reaction
Yeah,
after that was even worse, right? The White House was trying to say he denounced it, and all his acolytes and Fox News and everyone, oh, he's denounced white supremacy. What are you talking about? Meanwhile, they're putting out T-shirts and patches and selling merch saying stand back and stand by. They were energized. And the founder of the Proud Boys, Gavin McInnes, was out front of Walter Reed with the rest of the crazies out there, keeping watch in front of the vigil in front of Walter Reed. He was out there and embraced and welcomed with open arms. That sounds like the behavior of someone who felt denounced.
Right. And it turns out the head of Latinos for Trump in Florida is a Proud Boy.
That's right. And his accounts have been suspended, I believe.
Tara, to your point, and I think this is so critical because, look, in real time, and maybe I sometimes give the president too much license, but when he said the stand back and stand by, or stand down and stand by, I immediately thought, wait a minute, stand by means something different than stand down. But I realized that Chris Wallace had used the term stand down, and I realized that Joe Biden had said on the mic several times, Proud Boy. So I was trying to think, did Donald Trump misspeak or not? And here's the most damning thing, and Tara, you alluded to it. In any other political moment, we would expect a president or presidential candidate to have the wherewithal in that moment to understand, wait, this is a conversation about white supremacy, and I'm going to lead this conversation in the direction the nation needs to go. And even in a debate, if you totally screwed it up, the spin room for the White House would have been working overtime the moment it concluded with a new statement, with a clarifying statement, and they did none of that. They reveled in the idea that, oh, there's going to be some confusion around this, and we're going to defend Donald Trump because he can never make a mistake. That gives you, as Tara, you and I were talking, the compass of the man at the beginning of this, that shows you the compass of the man.
And then blame the media, right? They never take responsibility. It was the media's fault for asking the question, asking for clarification. And when you have Fox News reporters even having enough and being completely over it, then you know you've pushed the envelope too far with the bullshit meter. Go ahead.
Tara's got a sensitive bullshit meter, people. Count on it.
Yeah, I'm from Jersey.
Bullshit meter.
I'm from Jersey. We are born with a bullshit meter in our DNA. We can sniff it out.
Let me turn to, can I turn to questions and ask a question, because it's gnawing at me, and I get a lot of grief on Twitter or whenever I ask this question. I think Joe Biden should have had a direct answer on whether or not he will support expanding the courts. And I don't actually think
should have been no.
What the answer was matters too much. I mean, I don't think we should expand the court, but I want to see a candidate being able to thoughtfully answer that question. To me, that was a BS moment on Biden's part. What's your take?
Yeah, look, Biden is an imperfect debater. He's an imperfect candidate. Yeah. But luckily, he's running against the most imperfect candidate of all.
Yeah.
And honestly, Biden's people should have told him, just from a political set aside the blowing up norms and institutions part, which I disagree with. I do not think we should do that, because what happens if you expand the court and you add, let's just say you throw 4 more justices on there? Well, guess what? When someday President Josh Hawley and Senate Majority Leader Mike Lee decide they're going to add 10 more, and then it goes tick, 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 back and forth, and we've got a
That's
court
right. Where do you draw the line?
So I that's why I'm always hesitant about other things. But it's also not good politics. The polling, Republicans hate it, independents hate it, and only a plurality of Democrats want it. It's not even that big of a push. It's a bad issue. I mean, so just from a practical political standpoint, why wouldn't you just go, no?
You know why, though, Rick. But you know why.
I know.
Because the progressive left wants that as a carrot as a fighting, point to fight for. Like, this is what we'll do. We'll get them back. So we have to make sure we mobilize. That's why I guarantee you that it wasn't Joe Biden's idea to be evasive on that question. That is coming from
I suspect
folks in the campaign that said, don't take that. Don't take that away. That's something that we're using to mobilize people and give them hope that we can do something. Whether it's good, whether it's a good idea or not, I agree with you, Rick. I don't think we should expand the court under any circumstances, but I think that was the strategy there.
Yeah, and look, I think my voice, maybe the three of us are in agreement on this. We're in a minority among those who would like to see Donald Trump replaced by Joe Biden. But for what it's worth, and it is a legitimate opinion, and to my Democratic friends who want to argue with me on this, one of the reasons I left the Republican Party and I don't think Donald Trump should stay in office nor Mitch McConnell is because they're cheating in broad daylight. And while legislatively expanding the court isn't cheating per se, look, it's not really playing by the rules either. And so, look, it's a vast minority that the space I'm in, and maybe the three of us who want to say, yeah, the rules should really apply to everybody. Because if you've watched Republicans cheat in broad daylight, as a Democrat, you say, look, we gotta level the playing field one way or another. And if it means legislating an expansion of the court, we should do it. I disagree with it. And honestly, I really don't care how Joe Biden would answer that question, I think, in the long run. I just would like to
Right.
hear him answer the question.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're coming to one of our favorite parts of the show. I'm glad I hopped in right when the fun begins.
Yes.
We've got some tweets from the audience. So let's roll some of those tweets. CDC guidelines recommend that those with COVID-19 have their own bathroom. They should clean it themselves. Can we get a photo up of DJT scrubbing his golden throne? That's from Meg Donahue at Donahue73. Meg, you and I can be friends. That is a solid tweet.
Maybe the graphics department can give us a visual of that perhaps one day, and we can imagine what it would look like. Oh God,
Hey, the only thing I would push back on is it's probably gold spray paint. There's no way Donald Trump actually has that level of value in this.
Right. It's Krylon.
Good point.
I think we have a voicemail next.
Yes.
My question is this. I live in Tennessee, and I know that President Trump went to the hospital today, and Biden's campaign stopped all negative ads, but I just saw a extremely negative ad from Trump's campaign towards Biden, and it was extremely disturbing. How long will Biden keep his negative ads off the campaign? Thank you. And God bless y'all for what you're doing. Bye-bye.
Right now, Joe Biden needs to put his ads back on the air.
Now.
As a matter of
Right
fact,
now.
they should have put them back on the air on Saturday. Okay,
Yep.
As soon as the president put out those bullshit hostage videos, and then and Jason Miller went on air on Sunday criticizing Joe Biden for using masks as a prop, the audacity of that SOB, Jason Miller, the lying deadbeat father who, screwed around on his wife while she was pregnant, got another woman pregnant, not paying child support on that, and his dalliances with strippers, that Jason Miller, the only person that the Trump campaign could get to go out there and defend them on Sunday, he had the audacity to go after Joe Biden and say that Biden was using a mask as a prop. Please. So Biden, listen, stop with the ceasefire. It's over. You need to put your foot on the neck and destroy him. Enough is enough. They would never have given Joe Biden the same courtesy. I understood it in the beginning. He looked like the statesman, and that was the right thing to do. But as soon as the Trump campaign continued on with their stuff, right back at it. But that's what we're here for, right, Rick?
That's what we're here for. And go ahead, David.
No, look, I want to offer a contrarian take, and I know it's contrarian, but campaigns are run in phases, right? And we're now 4 weeks out and moving to 3 weeks out, and the messaging evolves. I don't think Biden should bring back negative campaigns because I think it's in his best interest not to. And the case I would make is this. I think we're at the phase where within the next week, we're going to see Joe Biden take on the heir of the presidency. And it will be a campaign stage in which we start to talk with an inevitability about Donald Trump winning. It's not to say he needs to fold the tent and not engage. Go strictly positive. And honestly, I would cancel the next 2 debates and say because the president can't be trusted for his personal or for public health. And let Donald Trump complain. What's he going to do? Tweet from his hospital bed that Joe Biden has gone positive? I think we're at the stage where this is where Joe Biden starts to leave Donald Trump behind. And honestly, a lot of Americans are looking for a president in this moment Joe Biden can be that president without going negative. Just my contrarian take.
Rick, do you want to push
You
back
know,
on it? Because
Rick would not agree
I
with this, by the way. This is
no,
nowhere
look,
in Rick's DNA.
I
I
am a
know that.
practitioner of the. I'm a practitioner of pain, and so I'm like a political dominatrix. You come to the shop, you're going to get your ass beat in the appropriate way. I will say this: Joe Biden should be running an awful lot of positives that frame him. I'm going to say something very contrarian myself. Joe Biden's ad should frame him as the fiscal conservative in the race. They should frame him as the institutionalist in the race. They should frame him as the normal person in the race. You know, look, Joe Biden can say, our administration never spent like Donald Trump's, even before COVID. We had, we were on a glide path to a balanced budget. He should get to the right and the center on Trump on a couple of issues. It'll drive Trump out of his damn mind, first off.
Yeah.
And also to start communicating that when you elect Joe Biden, the screaming stops, the noise goes down, the craziness starts to recede, sanity returns. It's not going to be this nightmare of a country that's always at, got the volume up to 11 and they're screaming at each other from across the room.
And I think that's what we mean by negative ads. That's what I mean by negative ads. I don't mean like Willie Horton type ads. I mean where they point out that Donald Trump has failed the American people and that lives were lost as a result of it, and juxtapose that with the leadership that Joe Biden offers. The compare and contrast type of negative ads. Don't let him get away with, a pass on the irresponsibility of how he's behaved on COVID, because it's very real to a lot of people and a lot of people in swing states where it's going to be close. So I'm not talking like the ominous Willie, the Willie Horton type ads or anything like that. I'm talking like, you got to hold Donald Trump's feet to the fire to remind people of how irresponsible and reckless and horrible he has been and where the country is as a result, and how Joe Biden would not be that way.
Yeah, and look, I don't disagree with that. I think how you frame it's important, right? In the debate, Donald Trump kept hitting Biden on, you want to shut down the economy. Joe Biden took the bait and had this argument over shutting down the economy. What Joe Biden needs to do is say, I will be a president who keeps America safe. I will keep our public health safe. I will keep our economy safe. And so I think you can lead with that message, and the contrast draws itself. Two quick points. Rick, you hit on something about just being the candidate that settles things down. I've thought for a year that Joe Biden's tagline should not be build back better, but instead bring back boring. Just get us to an environment where we can trust our president and not have to worry about politics. Bring back boring. We all want boring. We will trust you, Mr. Biden. The second thing, Tara, this one's for you. Rick and I have never talked about this, but I know he's a purveyor of hate and tough ads, because we ran against each other in a U.S. Senate campaign. When I would have an opposition research drop on me, there were more than one occasion where I turned to my consultant and I said, oh, that's a Rick Wilson play. That's exactly Rick Wilson.
You never want to be on the receiving end of a Rick Wilson oppo drop ad. You just don't want to be it. You live to tell this story.
They would cut you at the knees. You knew if it was one where there was just no way out, you just had to take the hit. It was a Rick Wilson hit.
In my family,
well, I appreciate that,
you never wanted to be on the receiving end of a Gloria Setmayer letter. That was my grandmother, and she was vicious when she was mad. So you never want to be on the end of a Gloria Setmayer letter, and you never want to be on the receiving end of a Rick Wilson attack ad.
So my wife and I have said I'm only getting back into Florida politics if Rick does our ads. So that's
I volunteer as tribute.
Yes. I think we have another.
Do we have another tweet?
Hi, Tara. My name is Nicole. Could you and Rick make a commercial with Donald Trump with his irresponsible self leaving out trying to wave at his supporters while he's supposed to have COVID-19 and he's putting everyone at risk? Can you guys please make a commercial about that? I love you guys. Mike Madrid, I love you. Okay, bye.
Well, we love you back, and I can assure
Yes.
you there is such a commercial right now. If you've seen me glancing down at my phone a couple times, that is why. So stay tuned.
Abe is always watching and working.
Abe's watching.
Let's throw up another tweet. Thank you so much. He was so cute. All right, Hagadaga1. How can we hold QAnon politicians accountable? Can we make all Republicans go on record condoning this behavior? Dave Jolly, these are your former colleagues. What do you think we should
Yeah.
do to them with this QAnon nonsense?
They won't do it. I think there may have been a vote in the House. There was something recently to condemn QAnon, and Republicans wouldn't unanimously do it. Look, it's interesting. All politicians, and I try to extract some of the really harsh criticisms and put a different context to it. And so I'm going to use that in this moment. Politicians respond to it, the incentive structure that's in front of them that allows them to succeed and to get promoted and to keep their job. And it's not unlike any other profession. If you're in law, or you're working at the factory or the bar, or you're in medicine, or in an office environment, you do the things that allow you to keep your job and move forward. And the truth is, a lot of Republicans get rewarded right now for embracing the likes of QAnon and others. Now, because they hold a position of public trust, we get to assess their moral decision making in that moment. And if we think the QAnons that want to come after Rick are crazy, then we get to judge Republicans harshly for not rejecting them as well. I think we will continue to see elements like this control the fringes of partisan politics, in large part because we've set up a platform that protects partisanship and rewards it in the long run.
I think it's pretty remarkable that we have fallen so far that the Republican Party elected officials cannot condemn a batshit crazy conspiracy group that believes in baby eating child traffickers,
Child
and a
sex
deep state.
cannibalism.
Yeah, I mean, that drink, like, they do satanic rituals and drink blood or whatever the hell they think. I mean, it is
It's adrenochrome.
crazy.
It's adrenochrome. That's their magical substance they believe in. It is.
Rick, you have more
I wish I
experience
could
with
say
these
it's like a
guys than you,
virtual
'cause they come
reality
to
game
me.
for these people.
They come after
Right.
you all the time, right?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. I constantly get like, were you on Epstein's plane? I'm like, yeah, tons of times. Of course I was. What?
And you're going to be
Crazy.
arrested, right? That's another thing too. Everyone's going to be arrested and like thrown into internment camps or something, according to these QAnon
Right. We're all
crazies.
going to
They're
Gitmo.
9/11 truthers, and they don't believe
We're all
9/11
going to
happened.
Gitmo.
Let me give your viewers a real life example outside of the Rick Wilson, they're going to throw him in jail. A real life example of how this happens very subtly, but it really matters. My wife and I have an 18-month-old daughter. It's fantastic. I'm a first-time dad at 47, 48. It's the best thing ever. So we were downtown having lunch, and my wife and I put on masks, and we're beginning to get her used to putting on masks, right? So we did the thing like, hey, this is fun. We wear masks, and we got her this little pink mask. And so we did it, and we took a picture, a family picture. My wife posted something about, the family picture. The criticisms we started to get from the right about, oh, you're putting your daughter in a mask, big government, big brother, whatever. But then something happened in the first 24 hours on social media, and this QAnon effect happened. And then Laura and I became child abusers and pedophiles and sex offenders and all these things. And it never went away. It never went away because the algorithms took over.
Yep.
That is just
until Facebook and Twitter and Insta decide they're going to grow up on this and start adding some real tools to report these crazies and some real consequences to the kind of harassment they deliver. It's not going to change. It's been
it went on for a solid week. It really did.
Yeah,
and then
believe
how did it
That's
stop?
awful.
How did it stop? Did it just go away? They just moved on, or were you able to?
Yeah, it just aged out. But understand the pivot that happened. It went from the anti-masker kind of Matt Gaetz world, if you will, to the QAnon sexual predator pedophile world. And
right.
and it was remarkable that it had legs. Like once it got to the pedophile world, it just kept going.
They
And
do.
look, I
That's what
hope
they
most
do.
people inform their political and civic judgments based on more than just social media. But for those who live and breathe social media, there was a real narrative for about a week on nothing more than a family photo with our daughter wearing a mask.
That is
I'd say that's
extraordinary.
insane, but that's what those people are.
Yep.
That's right.
And the Russians know it and they amplify it. So a lot of that
Right.
also is being amplified from St. Petersburg, which is another
Right.
whole discussion. Let's throw up one more. We've got to lighten it up. We cannot move on the show on that note. What is the Lincoln
Oh,
Project
this is
doing
a
to
cheerful
prepare for the
note.
battles? Yes. What is the Lincoln Project doing to prepare for the battles that will occur over the election outcome between November 3rd and January 20th? Rick, that's for you.
Wolverines! No, look, we are lawyering up, we are gearing up, we are preparing. If this is not a close election, we are preparing to go as hard as we can on every front: political, legal, media, social, in the streets if we have to. This is not going to be a fight that the Lincoln Project rolls over and says, "Okay, Trump's cheating, so we just have to give up." We're not going to play that game. We refuse categorically to be, complacent when Donald Trump begins to try to influence states to reset their ballot slates, or to try to go into states and tell local supervisors, as they were doing today in North Carolina, don't follow the federal rules, don't follow the state rules, follow the rules we give you. It is not going to, we're not going to play that out, folks. We're going to be as hard as we can. We're going to go as tough as we can, because we believe that fight, if this is an election that Donald Trump contests on spurious grounds, it is as close as we're going to get to a civil war in this country. We can't let that happen.
Absolutely not. Not on our watch. All right. Rick,
All right,
I think
so
we have some info on that note, right? We have some election information for people who can
election information.
pay
All right, folks,
attention.
we want to continue to share election information with you every night we're on LPTV here. And we have heard a lot of feedback that you appreciate it. And so we're going to do more of it. And we really want to encourage you to use all the tools that are out there to make sure that you're registered, to make sure that you asked for your absentee or early ballot, and that you've turned it in properly. So I want to say you're going to have the ability to register in most states a little longer, but the last day, October 5th, is Texas, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Ohio. You got till midnight, folks. Get on it. Okay? Not even kidding. Those states are all vital states. And yes, Texas is in play. We fought against it. We pretended it wasn't happening, but the numbers are there. Texas is in play. And tomorrow you're going to hear some Lincoln Project news about Texas. I'm just going to tease that out there a little bit. Folks, these are the swing states. So please, if you have family, friends, Facebook acquaintances, Facebook friends, Twitter friends, make sure they know that those states' deadlines are looming. They need to move quickly. They need to get registered and be prepared to vote.
Absolutely.
I also want to say,
and Mike Madrid would be having a conniption right now because he thinks Texas is fool's gold, right? But I think he's coming around. I think he's coming around.
And look, I still think Texas may be fool's gold, but the Trump campaign is out of money. They pulled down their ads today in Ohio and Iowa. They're basically running ads right now in Florida and North Carolina, and they're de minimis everywhere else. So if Texas comes into play, and there's a possibility of a chance of an outlier that we could possibly snatch it, that's a big game. And so, Donald Trump's campaign is collapsing. We want to help it collapse. If you guys in Texas can get off your asses and do what you got to do, this could be a big night. So I also want to say, folks, before we wrap up tonight, thank you, David Jolly, so much for being on. I look forward to having you on the broadcast again. Tara, thank you so much for picking up the slack when I was off doing the dollar Zoom thing, as we are forced to do in our world. I also want to encourage everybody to check out our sister show that airs during the day. That is Vote for America with Jennifer Horn. You can see it on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 1:30 East Coast time. And it streams on our Lincoln Project YouTube channel. It is a great show. They have some excellent conversations. Folks, we will be back here again on Wednesday night at 8:30 Eastern, right before the VP debate. in Salt Lake City between Senator Harris and Mother's husband. We will be doing pre and post debate coverage. I had to. Pre and post debate coverage. And I want to leave you guys tonight with a clip from the latest Lincoln Project podcast, which our friend Ron Steslow ably hosts and produces. And if you haven't subscribed to Lincoln Project podcast, I really want to encourage you to do so. It has become a place with some great guests, great information about this election, and some real insights about not only what we're doing at the Lincoln Project, but what's happening more broadly in the campaign. So check out the Lincoln Project podcast. Going to leave you with a clip tonight with an interview with Mary Trump. So,
but wait,
folks,
wait! Before we do that,
Rick,
I think the graphics department has granted our viewers' wish.
Do it. Yes.
And
there it is.
There you have it.
There it is.
There you have it.
Good hustle, graphics people. Good hustle.
Nice job. Nice job. Thanks again to David Jolly and the graphics department.
Thanks again to David Jolly. Thanks, Tara. We will see you guys on Wednesday night for vice presidential debate festivities.
But in the grand scheme of things, the diagnosis is irrelevant. You know, we need to be really concerned about his behaviors and how they have an impact on other people. And what I find really troubling is that people speculate about his physical health all the time and the physical health of other public figures. I mean, I'm sure we all remember Hillary Clinton like semi-fainting at a 9/11 memorial because she had the flu or pneumonia or something. I mean, that was talked about endlessly. But quite honestly, any physical ailments Donald might have are significantly less dangerous to the populace than any psychiatric disorders he might have, especially if, you know, they lead to impulsive, irresponsible, unempathetic behavior, which we see every day.
I can't watch this man because it is harmful to my mental and emotional health. And that's not where you lie on the political spectrum. That's, we shouldn't have to listen to this. We shouldn't have to listen to someone gaslight us about whether or not a disease we know is highly contagious is highly contagious. He shouldn't get to say that he brought back football and that's why it doesn't matter that 200,000 Americans have died.
Meanwhile, at Trump's White House lair.
So you think the virus totally supersedes the economy?
Oh, sure. But they're related, as you know.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, little bit. I mean,
more than a little bit, but the economy is doing, look, we're close to a new stock market record.
The jobs outlook now, 6 months into this pandemic, is worse than the Great Depression.
Nothing more could have been done.
Well,
I acted early.
The president spoke during a day of campaigning in Nevada, including an indoor rally last night that was condemned as unsafe.
Outside, you have 30,000 people trying to get in.
Aren't you concerned about getting COVID, though, in an enclosed way?
No, I'm not concerned. I'm more concerned about how close you are, to be honest.
It's so easily transmissible, you wouldn't even believe it.
I know.
I was in the White House a couple of days ago. Then a guy sneezed. The entire room bailed out, okay, including me, by the way.
The president is the wrong man for the job.
But you're known as the reporter who doesn't put his thumb on the scale.
It's a conclusion based on evidence.